Big news coming out of the NFL. OBJ finally got paid. New York finally forked over the dough. They gave him a 5-year, $95 million contract with $65 million guaranteed, making him the highest paid receiver in the NFL. Brent, does he deserve it?
I'm not so sure that he deserves it because I feel that there's better receivers in the NFL than he is. Julio Jones, Antonio Brown, they are. I mean, how can you He's made his name off of really ridiculous catches, and they're great, and it's good. But he's also a head case.
Yeah, I will say that he's someone that definitely. There's a lot of baggage that comes with a guy like OBJ, but I think that this is a different team now because they went out, they got a new offensive, they got a couple offensive linemen, they got a good offensive mind, they got Saquon Barkley. I think what they were saying to him is that he's their future, and I think he is. I mean, it's arguable that there's other. I agree that you could argue that Antonio Brown or Julio Jones is the better receiver. You could argue that, but I just think that they had to pay him this much money. They had to.
I mean, they don't really have much of a choice. They have to lock up their marquee player. He's your moneymaker. He's selling your merchandise now. I mean, Eli's pretty much done. Probably should have tried to cut him this year, but they didn't have anybody behind him. So it's obviously a needed thing. They needed to sign somebody. They needed to sign him to a big contract. I just don't think he's worthy of being the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL.
I don't know. I think he's definitely, when you think of top 5 receivers in the NFL, who do you think of off the top of your head? You think of OBJ, you think of Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, AJ Green, and I don't know the 5th one, but I'm saying he's in there. He's in the upper echelon of those receivers. But
totally agree.
And you could also argue that you shouldn't pay a receiver that much money because Tom Brady is a prime example that if you have the right quarterback and the right system, you can interchange receivers and no problem. But I don't know. You got to give him that money. $65 million guaranteed is a lot for a wide receiver. But that wasn't the biggest.
It is.
That wasn't the biggest amount of money that came out of the NFL this week. Aaron Rodgers signed a 4-year, $134 million contract with 67 of that guaranteed. Again, I think this was the right call for Green Bay. Although Aaron Rodgers is 41. But
at the end of the contract, he's 41, right?
He's 41 now, so he'll be 45.
Aaron Rodgers there's no way he's 41 right now.
Yeah, he is. Look it up.
I'm going to right now. That's insane. No way that he's that old. Really?
He's been in the league forever.
Like I could believe that he's going to be 45 at the end of that contract, but I can't believe he's 34. So he'll be at the end of the contract.
I saw 41 somewhere, and I believe it.
Well, wherever you saw that was wrong.
34 might as well be the new 41.
Yeah, I mean, it could be at this point. I mean, it's all about the youth, right?
Yeah. This is another. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, as I say, I think it's a good contract on their part. At the end of the day, like you're not letting a franchise quarterback walk. You're just not doing it. It's crazy to me that like you look at a team like Buffalo and letting Tyrod walk this year. Like you finally make the playoffs for the first time in a decade, and now you're we don't need him. We'll just replenish and see how it works. Like, do you really think Peterman or Josh Allen are going to get them to the playoffs this year? Absolutely not. There's no way.
Yeah, this was a no-brainer. I'm surprised they kind of held out this long. I feel like this was something that should have been taken care of a long time ago. Who else is Green Bay going to look at? This is their franchise quarterback, and he has been that way since he took over for Favre. And quite frankly, he's all they have. They don't have a running game. They haven't had a running game in God knows how long. So this is something that I think should have been handled a lot sooner, but it doesn't matter. It's taken care of. It's happening right now. And good for Packers fans. I'm sure there's a lot of them out there that are very excited about this. So, good on them. I'm just saying at some point you got to get him a running back at some point.
They will. And I think what I heard from a lot of people is that I've seen so far, everybody seems to think that like he's taking too much money. He's not going to be able to get players around him. And it's like, it's not as bad of a hit as they think. And the way that they structure the contract is a big reason. Like, so as an example, Le'Veon Bell's contract, they agreed on money, but they didn't agree on the guaranteed side because Pittsburgh's big thing that they always do with their star players is they like to put in their money in roster bonuses and signing bonuses instead, because the roster bonuses and signing bonuses don't go as much on your cap hit. So they can kind of, there's no other way to put it, they're circumventing the salary cap a little bit by doing it that way. Well, the issue you run into is the roster bonuses aren't fully guaranteed. You have to be on the roster, so they could cut you and then that money's no longer there for you. So that ended up being one of the biggest contention spots for them not getting a contract signed, was because Pittsburgh wanted to add roster bonuses and not just do signing bonuses because it helps them fix the cap issue. And that's something that Pittsburgh's had a big issue with in the past decade. So,
yeah, the thing that also worries me about what the Packers are doing is with this much money, I said they need to get him a running back. I don't know if they can afford it because they took all that cap space out to pay this guy. Again, he's worth the money. I'm not disputing that Aaron Rodgers is worth the money, but this offensive line, they got to add more guys to it, because last year was an example of that suspect offensive line. He breaks a collarbone, you know what I mean? And he's 41 in air quotes as I joke about that, but he's at that age where he can't keep getting injured like this, and you do need to have that security blanket. But at the same time, I don't know if they'll afford it. So I think maybe more teams should use the Pittsburgh approach to those type of things. Speaking of players getting paid, do you think that they will pay Le'Veon Bell? Do you think the Steelers are going to pay him at some point?
No, he's going to hit free agency. Dude's going to get in an absurd amount of money to go play somewhere else. But the problem is somebody's going to go pay him all that money, and he'll have nobody around him outside of that. So his chances of winning, he's basically putting it on this year for him to win a championship this year. Like that's it. Like he's like, where is he going to go that's going to be able to pay him as much as he wants to get paid and have it as guaranteed money and signing bonuses and everything else right away? Like, there's no way that happens at a place where you're going to have more stars than just him. You know, he turned down a $15 million a year offer for 5 years, $70 million. And I think over half of it was guaranteed. And then they had the roster bonuses. With the roster bonuses, he had 75% of his money. Like, you were going and getting this money beforehand, and you don't have to show up and like play to get your game checks, basically. But it's not guaranteed, obviously, because of the roster bonuses. He's going to go somewhere that's going to give him 75% of his $70 million or $100 million contract that he gets, and it's going to be guaranteed, and they're not going to have anybody else around him. He's going to be the lone weapon. And it's one hell of a weapon to have. He can run the ball inside, outside, line him up in the slot. He can, play as a slot receiver at times too. And the one thing about him that helps an offense so much is you can literally look at him as your
that's me,
as a decoy. Okay, I was like, oh, is that me or you? He's just a decoy. The linebackers aren't stepping back and into coverage if you're feinting the handoff. Like if it's play action, you're looking into the backfield the entire way as soon as you see him. So it's crazy.
And honestly, if I'm Pittsburgh, and you and I have talked about this, and I understand how valuable running backs are. I mean, last night when we were having the fantasy draft, I was talking about that, how you and I got stuck with bad positions in the draft.
Yeah.
But everybody went after a running back first because they're so valuable, and that is true. But I'm with you. I think if I have that money, I'm not going to pay Le'Veon Bell. I'm paying Antonio Brown.
And that's where Pittsburgh was with it. He wanted to get paid more than Antonio's getting paid, and they basically were just like, look, man, like we believe that you're worth a lot of money, but we don't believe you're worth more than our star wide receiver. Who I'll be honest, Antonio Brown means more to that offense than Le'Veon Bell does. He really does.
Oh, yeah.
When Brown goes down, that offense struggles. When Bell went down, which consistently happened, they still made it work.
Right. And, Bell is actually a pretty decent receiver. He caught a lot of passes last year. But, yeah, I think when you look at it in the NFL, it's a passing league, and the most valuable players offensively are going to be your quarterback and your receiver. And they're planning for the future because we don't know how much longer Roethlisberger is going to be in Pittsburgh. They drafted a quarterback as his replacement. So they're clearly going to that for the future. And why not keep a guy like Antonio Brown, give him the money? I mean, you just saw the Giants do it. I guarantee you AB is looking at the Steelers front office and being like, okay, you saw how much OBJ got paid, right?
He's pretty happy, though. He was the highest paid wide receiver till that contract got signed. So
sure.
It's one of those things that, as ridiculous as it is and how like flashy he is at times, Antonio Brown surprisingly has been fairly humble when it came to contracts and stuff like that. He's not a guy that's going to hold out. He's going to go work his ass off at training camp every year, even with a contract dispute. It's just one of those, like, that's how he is, like he's a solid guy for that. Like it's nuts that some of these wide receivers and people that are holding out, like Le'Veon Bell's already like disputing reports he's going to join the team on Monday, which, well, it would make sense for you to join the team on Monday when you play on frickin' Sunday, bud. Like, come on. If he doesn't want to play, it's fine. And it's going to play out kind of interesting because Roethlisberger's already in the open in the media advocated that James Conner should get more touches this year than Le'Veon Bell than he had last year because Le'Veon Bell's not there and James Conner was there for the entire training camp.
Right. Well, either way you look at it, OBJ got paid, Aaron Rodgers got paid. Not surprising.
No, not at all.
Especially not the money that Aaron Rodgers got. I will say Dan Patrick had a funny segment this morning where he's like, do you think that Tom Brady sees how much Aaron Rodgers got paid and like he's in bed with Giselle and he's like, oh, come on, I'm better than that. I'm worth more than that. And then at the same time, he's probably like, well, I do have 5 rings, so I think I'll be okay.
Yeah, I don't think that money really honestly matters to Brady as much. He's made so much at this point, and he's ridiculous, but he is a humble player that takes a little bit less to help the team get more to help him. So
yeah, he's taking pay cuts every year. So yeah, I don't think he's worried about it. So yeah, those guys got paid. Let's move on.